Hello everyone, hope you're having a great day. In this video I'll be showing you the most OP Karlach build guide in patch 8 of Baldur's Gate 3. Now the giant barbarian is a fantastic subclass. I'm going to be multi-classing it though because it kind of tapers off after level 6 and I got a very cool combination that I'll be showing off in this video. Now our ability score spread is going to be 16 strength, 14 dexterity, 16 constitution, 10 intelligence, wisdom, and 8 charisma. This is going to be optimal if you don't want to use strength potions, but if you do want to use strength potions, we would go with something like this with 16 dexterity, 16 constitution, 10 intelligence, 14 wisdom because wisdom saves are the worst, and then 10 charisma. However, use the other stat spread if you're not going to be using a strength potion. Only reason I'm including that is some people like strength potions, some don't. So at level 2, we get ourselves the reckless attack, and then at level 3, this is when we get our subclass, the giant barbarian. I think the berserker is a little bit better for going all in on throwing. However, the giant barbarian comes with its own cool ways to play, and we get some gear that actually makes us very strong. So you get the giant's rage, doubles the rage bonus on throw attacks, and you get large and in charge. So we're gonna roll with that there. The giant barbarian is a very nice subclass. It's fun to have a large Karlach. You can also use an elixir of the Colossus to double your giantness, so that's another option there you got. At level 4, we get a feat, and I would recommend taking up dexterity or constitution, depending on what you're going to be rolling with for gear. If you got the constitution amulet, you can also dump your constitution. It's your choice, however. But there's another really good option here, and that's Tavern Brawler. So with this, you can put your constitution like 17 or something else and take that up to 18. Your choice there. If you're using constitution amulet, that's obviously not important, but level 5 gives us the extra attack, increased movement speed, and the boot of the giants. You can see there an extra 17 damage on a kick as a bonus action. It's pretty nice. What's cool about this is that with this is Sparta kick, you can actually knock people right off of ledges. Using a bonus action to take out an entire enemy without having to expend its full health is just really powerful, because health as a resource is kind of annoying when you can do a one single bonus action attack to take it out. But the next level is when we get a big powerful ability with the elemental cleaver. So whenever you're raging, you can add additional acid, cold, fire, lightning, thunder damage to your throwing attacks. This did get nerfed, so Tavern Brawler doesn't work as it previously used to work. However, this is still quite strong. So with the throwing attack, we can add cold damage, and then there's a snowburst ring in the game, which will make ice surfaces below the enemy. So what is crazy about that is you can literally crowd control with this as well. At level 7, we're actually going to add in the fighter or the rogue. It's entirely your choice at this point, because we're going to be adding in both. So fighter adds our second wind here and a fighting style. Just useful to note, the +1 armor class doesn't work since we're not going to be wearing armor. So I'd recommend going with either the great weapon fighting if you want to use a two-handed weapon, or dueling if you want to use a shield. Shield will give us a higher armor class, making us more tanky, so we could go with that there. And then at our next level, we get action surge, which gives us another action, huge power spike per short rest, use it in every fight. And at level 3, while attempting to add another new subclass with the Arcane Archer, the Battlemaster is the best choice here, because we get ourselves riposte. So whenever you get attacked and a creature misses, since we have a good armor class, they're going to miss often, we can retaliate with a powerful strike that deals an additional 1d8 damage. Huge. Rally is another good one you can pick up down to allies and can't be counterspelled with this. I also think that menacing attack is really useful because you can possibly frighten the target. However, there is a piece of gear in this game that'll give us a free frightening attack every single turn, so we don't have to take that. We can go with a disarming strike, which is really nice to take the weapon out of their hands. And also trip attack is nice to knock the target prone, so you can go with either trip attack, and again, I just got to mention rally, because rally is really good there for a bonus action. Being able to give 8 temporary health points is extremely effective. So I'm going to take rally there, got our disarming attack for that extra damage, and we'll roll with that. At level 4, this is when we're going to add in the rogue, because we can get ourselves that extra bonus action and sneak attacks. So at level 2, we get our bonus action ability, so we can dash as a bonus action, which is great because that gives us a lot of mobility. And then at level 3, we get to add in the thief. It is tempting to add in the swashbuckler, but the bonus to initiative and the opportunity attacks isn't as good as going with the thief. The assassin's another decent choice, but an extra bonus action for 2 boots of the giants is really good, or you can sprint around with dash and then do a kick. So this ends up being pretty powerful because you get a good combination of stuff there. So in terms of gear, I want to include a few options. Some people like being told exactly what to use, but it's honestly personal preference because some people like to use two-handed weapons like the Baldur and Giant Slayer. So if we're going to use that, I'd recommend the Bone Spike boots because this gives you a +1 armor class and saving throws if you're not wearing a shield, and you get increased jumps, and you also get the Brutal Leap ability, which can possibly knock targets prone as a bonus action. This also go with the Bone Spike gloves, which ignores resistance to physical damage types. The Bone Spike garb, which gives you additional health points whenever you rage, and whenever you're attacked with a melee attack, the attacker will take a charisma modifier or a constitution modifier of piercing damage. So if we add in the constitution amulet, that gives us a additional 6 piercing damage on attackers, cloak protection, and the Bone Spike helmet, which gives us that menacing attack and also a bonus to our rage. And if we want to maximize our tankiness, we can get our armor class up to 27. This is using the evasive shoes, and also if Iconia's walking fortress or any other +3 armor class shield, the ring of protection, and a big component of this is the ring of flinging because we're going to be throwing, so this gives an additional 1d4 bonus to throw damage. The amulet of greater health will give you that increased constitution, give us a 152 health, and then also Heldas gloves gives us additional fire damage on our attacks. So that's kind of nice too to have. You could also early game go with the gloves of dexterity, which will set our dexterity to 18, and you can dump that stat instead. So there's a few different ways we can dump stats if you really want to. And then also there's things like the Dark Justiciar gauntlet is a choice. I wouldn't recommend anything that's going to be heavy armor. The Crater Flesh gloves can be nice too on critical hit. You get additional damage, but we'll roll that for additional up to 6 fire damage. The Vest of Soul Rejuvenation. So whenever we get hit, whenever we succeed on a saving throw, we heal ourselves. And we can use a reaction to make an unarmed strike against an attacker that misses so that we can save our riposte because we only get 4 superiority dice, so we don't want to fully be burning through them, but it's nice to be able to stagger them with this as well. And this will also give us a +2 to our armor class, which will bring it up to 27. Cloak protection, and also again, the Bone Spike helmet is probably the best in the slot. There is the Baldur and Giant Slayer will take you out of your unarmored defense, so we can't really use that there, but the Mask of Soul Perception is another good option. You can also go with like the Scrappy Pugilist Circlet, so we actually do 2 more damage whenever we're surrounded by 2 targets or more. So that's another fun choice that you got there as well. But all in all, this is actually quite powerful. And then for weapon, I'm using Sharp Speed of the Evening. So if you went evil, this is going to be the best in slot. The darkness is really good. I'm not going to use that though, just because it is extremely powerful. You can kind of do a lot with it. Valor Alluve is another good weapon you can go with if you want a single-handed weapon. The Knife of the Undermountain King is another good one for increased critical hit chance, and you also get advantage on attack rolls against obscure targets. Late game, the Crimson Mischief is extremely powerful. You can see all those extra damage riders that we got on there. So that is another fun one. This does a regular 1d6 damage. Belm is not a bad choice as well. You can even go with the Orin's Dagger here to give vulnerability to piercing damage on attacks. That is a late game item, so it's not fully necessary. You could also literally just go with Valor Alluve because this weapon is really strong and useful because you can also do sneak attacks since it's a finesse weapon. So that's also quite good. I will just use the Blade of the First Blood here just because it is quite strong, but you don't have to go with this. You got a lot of different options for throwing damage, so you use what you find works best, but late game, that's going to be a really solid option. I should also mention that the Snowburst ring, when you put cold damage on it, can actually give this ice surfaces. So that's crowd control. You don't have to do it that way though. You can just go with the fire damage because it fits thematically with Karlach, but we're going to get fire damage and necrotic. We're going to get additional damage riders. So the cold damage is fine too. So we strike first, and we're going to first want to go into our rage. That's going to make ourselves enlarged and in charge here. So then once we got that up, we can use our elemental cleaver, which will add the extra damage. Again, fire damage if you want to. It applies the thrown property. I'm going to use a cold one because I have the Snowburst ring there. And what's good about that is you can crowd control like a boss with it. Now we got sneak attacks, and that's where it's really crazy because you can see there we got 1d4 plus 14, 1d4 necrotic, 1d6 fire, 1d6 cold, 2d6 piercing. And you do require advantage. So if you have a teammate nearby, that's really effective for that. So you do have to have that advantage. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to get it. But what you can also do is if you get set up properly, our bonus action, Boot of the Giants, see you later. You do have to line this up sometimes properly to be able to actually boot someone off. But when you actually land this can be very satisfying. So we got it lined up perfectly here, and see you later. We have failed the athletics check. That's fine. We got ourselves a throw attack though. That's where we get a lot of our damage from. So the Tavern Brawler is going to add twice our strength modifier. I have disadvantage because I'm surrounded, but still 90% hit chance. and we hit a target. We created a crowd control surface, and it almost took them out. We were just a bit shy. If you had the Illithid ability, you'd be able to take them out, but we'll go again with another throw. And yeah, a lot of damage on that. You can see there, it's pretty crazy. And then since we're up close, we can also just use a disarming attack on a target, so that's another fun thing. You do have to be mindful though, if you're doing melee attacks, you might want to switch your elemental cleaver to a different damage type. So that's the nice thing about it, is it doesn't take any actions. So if you're doing an attack at close range that could potentially create an ice surface that you don't want, you can then just do the fire version and then swap back to the ice version, and you're good as new. So yeah, you can swap that around and then go back with another throwing attack, and it'll resume picking or doing the ice surfaces. So ice surfaces are super useful. You can see there we have 2 crowd control spots around choke points, really nice. And then we got action surge, so that's powerful in and itself. So then you can go again to go attack another target, and we're gonna be pretty offensive. So we'll just go here, we'll take out this one, that'll likely one shot. Yep, that was good chunk of damage. And then we'll follow it up with just maybe we're doing a disarming strike and see if that'll take them out. Critical hit, perfect, we finish them off. So yeah, that is pretty crazy. And now this turn we're able to unleash our full fury because we got both bonus actions. So we can do things like kick here, and hopefully this will be, yep, successful. Finally, Sparta kicked them to their demise. That is perfect. You want to try and pull those things off as much as possible just because it's so strong. And then we can get into doing some throwing attacks too, or find someone else that we can potentially kick. I'm just going to do a throwing attack here, 95% hit chance. We will take that. And the extra damage rider is nice. We apply bleeding too. It's kind of crazy because what's funny is the Helldust gloves count as unarmed attacks. So that's where we get extra necrotic and inflict bleeding from our throws. Shouldn't work that way, but it does. And I don't think they'll actually patch that out. So we'll keep rolling with it because it's in the game. But being able to apply bleeding, oh, we applied bleeding again. That's hilarious. Pretty nice. And again, anytime we're getting in close, we want to be swapping to our different damage dies, just because we don't want to attack ourselves. And we got our sneak attack off because we got our teammate there. If they had the ballast armor on, that would have been perfect because we would have got that extra attack in. And then we'll finish them off there with another stab, and we're quite large here. So yeah, there's no way we can kick to their... we might be able to kick them this way. We'll try that. It's very not likely, but we'll see. We'll see. No, we weren't able to line that up. That's the closest we can get, and we'll do it anyways. Take them right to the edge there. Yeah, and it does a pretty good amount of damage as well. And we'll start off our next turn with a big throwing attack, because that's where we get most of our damage from, adding the Tavern Brawler benefits, and we apply bleeding on that target as well. Pretty crazy. And then this is our last target, so we can't get advantage, unfortunately, since we don't have a teammate there, but we can always do our good old-fashioned, this is Sparta, and try to kick him off the edge. It isn't enough, but that's fine. We'll just do it anyways, because then we can follow it up with a second Boot of the Giants and hopefully kick them right off the edge. Perfect. So yeah, that is the most overpowered Karlach build in patch 8 using the patch 8 subclasses, the Giant Barbarian. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Hit the subscribe button below if you haven't already. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a great day, and we'll see you in the next one.